Welcome everybody, my name is Tim Burris and today I want to talk about my software developer toolbox and 10 things that are must-have for me. I'm going to list these in no particular order, and these are used for software development or to get software development done, but they are not actually for coding. So no NuGet packages, not talking about Visual Studio itself, but 10 other things that make my life easier. So we'll start with number one, which is Notepad++. There's a lot of great replacements for regular Notepad. Notepad++ is my favorite. I'm not going to go over all the features of it, but it's super fast opening large log files or large files of any kind, super quick, has great find and replace tools with regex. And like most modern software these days, when you open up multiple tabs here, when you close the software and reopen it, it retains them. So these are just some of the features that I really like about Notepad++. If you're not using Notepad++, you definitely need to use something besides Windows Notepad. Next on my list is Postman. Probably anyone who's had to work with third-party APIs is familiar with Postman already. So it's probably already in everyone's toolbox, but I had to throw it in there anyway, because if you are having to do gets or posts or anything to other APIs, even your own, but usually your own, you probably have Swagger or something going. But if you're using someone else's API, you definitely need Postman. You can save all of your posts and gets so that you can re-execute them. Here's one that goes against my Azure text translator. So you hit send, you get your response back. Side note, if you need to translate text from English to Spanish, Spanish to English, or to a host of other languages, you need to check out Microsoft Translator. It's a pretty amazing service, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Postman is a must-have if you're working with APIs. Next up is Filezilla. Now, this one probably is not as useful as it once was, because FTP is really not overly used anymore. But definitely back in the day, you were FTPing a lot of things around. But still, a lot of companies use secure FTP to transfer files. And so if you're having to do any FTP work, then you should be using something other than Windows Explorer to do your FTP. And I recommend Filezilla. It'll let you save your connections, has a bunch of great tools, lets you retry on error. So a bunch of functionality. It's free like most of the tools on this list. And it's pretty great if you're doing any FTP work. Next up on my list is Bitwarden. So if you're having to work with clients and maybe they're issuing you VPN accounts or domain accounts or anything in their systems, you need a place to store your passwords, and I hope that place is not in a Notepad or OneNote or an Excel document. You definitely owe it to your client to store your passwords securely, and Bitwarden is a great choice for me because it has a free plan. Usually I'm about trying to start with free plans, and so that's what I'm using. It's great. It has great web access and mobile access. I don't really use it as a plugin to autofill. I just use it as a way to store all of my sensitive passwords that specifically things for clients where I need to make sure I'm taking care to protect them and their systems. So if you don't have a password manager, check out Bitwarden. And I probably should have said this to start this video, but none of these are paid advertisements. These are just the tools that I use. I'm not doing advertising for any of these companies. I'm not getting paid by any of these companies to present their products. These are just the tools that I'm using. Next on my list is Balsamiq. Balsamiq is a tool for doing wireframing. So if you're doing mock-ups for clients to show how screens are gonna look and things, this is a great tool for doing that. I love the fact that it doesn't look perfect. It's meant to be imperfect, so the clients don't get the feeling that the screens that you're putting together are exactly how they're going to be when they're done. I like some of these simple things like having these squigglies in here just to represent the fact that there will be additional text. and it has frames for mobile and things like that. You can choose, obviously, to use colors to kind of illustrate, so it kind of matches what the client's uh, kind of theme is. But obviously, you could just elect to go with all grays. You can really get crazy with this. You can create reusable components that you could drop in on all the screens, like frames and headers, or you can just basically just use the things up here, drop them on there, add notes. But you can export this to PDF or PNGs or whatever. But if you're having to do any kind of wireframing for your clients to give them the idea of what it's going to look like, you should check out Balsamiq. It is not free. You can buy a cloud subscription, or I just purchased the desktop version. So I believe it was just under $100, maybe 80 or $90 for this one-time fee for me, since I'm not doing the renewal or the cloud version, just the desktop app. But again, if you're having to do some mock-ups or wireframes, you should check out Balsamiq. Next on my list is Draw.io. Let's make that an actual dot. I like using Draw.io to put together these kind of system architecture drawings where I'm showing the different pieces of the system and how they interact and things like that. Sometimes I use it to do traditional old school flowcharts. And sometimes just really basic kind of workflow things. There are a million different shapes and options over in here, and different categories. So any kind of drawing you need to put together, you can definitely find some great content here in Draw.io. Draw.io is free. It has a desktop version, which I'm showing here, but it also has a web version, so you can use it directly in the web. It'll connect to your Google Cloud, to your OneDrive, to Dropbox, and to many other places. Or you can just store it directly on your file system, and back it up however you want. But if you have to do architecture drawings, flow charting, system diagrams, any of that stuff, check out Draw.io. Next on my list is a bit of a cheat. It's going to be Datagrip. Now, originally I said I was not doing things for actual coding like Visual Studio or NuGet packages, but SQL Server Management Studio is so terrible, and that's typically what you're using to do your T-SQL and database work. So I have to throw Datagrip in because it will make your life so much easier when it comes to doing T-SQL database work. I'm not going to dive into it. I've done a number of videos on Datagrip, so check some of those other ones out if you're looking to upgrade your SQL Server Management Studio life. Next on my list is Papercut. So if I were actually going to rank these 1 through 10, Papercut would absolutely be maybe in my top 2 or 3, and that's despite the fact that I don't even use it every day. But it is amazing if you need to do emails from the system that you're developing. So Papercut is an executable that you run. You can install it as a service and have it running, but it is basically a local email server. And the great thing is, what you do is when you're developing a system, you set your outgoing mail server for your code. So if you're doing .NET, your SMTP, or if you're using SQL Mail, you configure your SMTP to be localhost or 127.0.0.1, and all the emails will come to this guy. Number 9, or the next one up on my list, is the Remarkable tablet. Now, the Remarkable tablet is what I'm actually writing on right now to do this demo, but this screen share feature that I'm using, so I'm writing on this physical tablet and having it broadcast to my computer, that's barely any interest to me. That's not why I love the Remarkable tablet. The Remarkable tablet is a physical device, looks and writes on just like paper. I mean, it's as close to paper as anything I've ever written on. I actually intend to do an entire video just on my Remarkable tablet, or the Remarkable tablet. I have the Remarkable 2, which is the latest one. And so I'm going to do a deep dive into it. But if you're taking notes, if when a client calls you need to take notes, or you're in a meeting and you need to take notes during that meeting, especially if you're on a video and you don't want to look like you're typing on your keyboard distracted and you want to take notes. I'm a write on paper kind of note taker. That's how I like to take my notes. I've never been comfortable taking notes in OneNote or any of the other note tools. I will still use OneNote for structured notes, but when I just want to write down my notes, this is what I use. Or if I want to brainstorm ideas, maybe sketch out some architecture drawings, things like that. That's what I'm using my remarkable tablet for, and I use it, I would say, every day. Well, I guess probably not on the weekends, but every day that I'm working, I use my Remarkable. It's amazing. And last but not least on my list, like Datagrip, this might be a bit of a cheat because it is related to coding a little bit, but it's Seek. If you watched any of my other videos, you've probably come across me using Seek. Seek is a centralized logger. It's a place where you can have all of your applications send their logs. And if you are one who's digging through a flat file to try to find errors or try to identify errors, then you need to move to something like Seek. It's just a target that you use. So if you're doing .NET, you just have all your logs sent to Seek, and you can do searches, you can filter by errors. I have all of my applications writing to this one Seek, and it's just amazing for being able to find out what's going on, to track down issues, and it's free for personal use, and it's really not that expensive for deploying to your commercial sites, to your client sites where you will not be eligible for the free license. But even if you can't do it in production, just for development alone, Seek is just unbelievable. It will save you so much time instead of trying to, while Notepad is pretty great, trying to find issues in a log file like this is not a great way to go. So if you're a software developer and you're logging data, like hopefully you are, then use Seek as a centralized place for all of your applications. And that's it for my top 10. So Notepad++ replaces Windows Notepad. Postman if you're using APIs. Filezilla if you have to do any kind of FTP. Bitwarden to make sure you're protecting your usernames and passwords, especially if they get you into client systems. Balsamiq if you have to do any kind of wireframing or mockups. Draw.io if you have to do any system architecture drawings or any flow charting. Datagrip if you are working with a database. Papercut if you have to do any type of emailing from your system. Remarkable Tablet just for note-taking and brainstorming and sketching. And last but not least is Seek, a centralized logger. Thank you for spending some time with me today.